I think we're recording. All right, we just started recording. All right.
Cool.
All right, man. So you said you made an outline?
Yeah, just a little bit of stuff I wanted to go over. So I think from the last meeting we talked about like SBA loans. That's kind of where I left off, and just trying to like get credit because I need to finish that house in 7th Street in Wilmington.
Yeah.
So kind of what I'm thinking for that is I looked into SBA loans. Like there's a couple different types, but they're basically just for businesses. So like if you own a business and you want to buy commercial real estate, you can get an SBA loan for that. So I mean it's a pretty good deal, but I don't own a business.
Couldn't your LLC be your business?
No, I think it has to be, an actual like a chiropractor, doctor, a lawyer, dentist, something like that. I don't think they don't do investment real estate.
Really?
Yeah.
What if all your portfolios were under the umbrella of like J. Brown Holdings, and that it seems like an actual business?
Yeah, I think you have to actually apply for like to be a full-time real estate professional, and you have to like record hours and stuff. But yeah, if you own like a property management company or something like that where you could be a real estate professional, but you actually have to have like the LLC that I have. It's just basically a sole proprietor. It's a single member LLC. So it's just like a disregarded entity. We talked about that last time. Like I don't have a separate business tax return. So it's just a single tax return.
And the only reason you're looking at SBA loans is because of you're trying to get around the debt to income ratio hurdle right now.
Yeah, just exactly. Yeah, just trying to find better loan options. So one thing I was thinking about doing, another thing I could do too. So if you're because you can do residential commercial loans, because I have one of them right now. What I was thinking about doing was doing a quitclaim deed and putting my deeds into my LLC name. The only problem I'm concerned about is that due on sale clause. So the bank would call the note due. So I'm a little worried about that. What's that?
One thing I have here that I wanted to ask you, was it easier to get your commercial loan versus your residential loans?
Well, at the time they were both very easy because I didn't own a lot of property. So my DTI wasn't bad. But it
based on the property itself and not so much the actual lendee.
Yeah, commercial loans are going to be more of like a partnership. So they're going to look at, which they have those for residential loans now. They're called debt service cover ratio loans.
Dude, that's what I wanted to talk to you about.
DSCR. Yeah.
So that's what you have?
I don't believe so. I think we were looking at that for that Myrtle Beach because that was a huge hurdle that me and Mike had for the Myrtle Beach home. Is it took forever to close. Like we went over closing by like 20 days, so or more. It took us.
That was due to the bank.
Yeah, the underwriting just kept coming back and like requesting more and more information, and then they requested like more stuff than they even needed to. Like for instance, my commercial loan, they made me give them all my documentation on my residential commercial loan, even though it's not on my credit report. So, and I think the only reason they knew about it is because I told them about it. So I think I just shouldn't have even said anything. So in the future, but that's what I'm saying for doing the quitclaim deed, get those out of my name, put them in my LLC name, and then just getting a good, like I have a decent relationship, I guess, with the one banker that I have my commercial loan in, so I could talk to him because we've already talked about it a little bit, but just being as like a backup plan, like if those other mortgage companies call my note due on the ones that I quitclaim, then I can just roll those into just one loan with the commercial banker. So that was kind of my plan. But like what my plan is right now is to just do I need to pay off one of my credit cards because it's hurting my credit report right now. So I think I should be able to pay that off in like a month or two. And then after that, I'm going to go to Wells Fargo first. and I'm going to apply for like $50,000 personal loan so I can finish that 7th Street. Huh?
I thought you had a bad experience with them.
Yeah, they're hard to get approved. Every time I've gone to Wells Fargo for approval, they've always denied me. But the thing is if you can go to like a big bank like Wells Fargo, you're gonna get better interest rates and stuff. So they're hard to work with, but if you can get approved, then it works. It works nice. So I'm gonna go to them first and see what my experience is, and then I'll follow back up with that. So that's what I'm going to be working on probably next month once I get my credit card paid off, and then currently just all this stuff that we're going through with the Myrtle Beach property. Just a lot of like learning curves, even with that, even though I've done this a few times. Like, so like we inherited 3 renters. So one of the renters, for some reason, their lease, it says that, rent's due the 1st. We called the property manager. She told us that it's like, oh, I don't pay rent till the 17th. Called the property management company and they're like, oh yeah, we've been letting her pay on the 17th. So like, I don't know, that's weird, and it's not good for how we have our stuff set up. And then the AC like unit went out, and like I've never managed stuff. I don't really like doing property management stuff. So we're managing stuff. So we're going through that experience of like calling the HVAC people out there, and then we got a guy that didn't seem right the price wise. So then I have another guy come out and waiting to hear back from him for tomorrow. What else? But that's basically it for the Myrtle Beach property.
What's the reasoning for the property managers to be like, what? I don't get that.
They're just a lot of property managements are just terrible. They're just not good at their jobs. They don't do stuff right. Like what they're doing is they could get sued, and that's what I'm worried about, because you can't. It's part of the Fair Housing Act. You can't like let someone get away. You can't let one of your tenants pay on the 17th when everybody's lease says you have to pay on the 1st. You know what I mean? Because you're treating someone else you're treating the other 2 tenants unfair. You're giving preferential treatment to the one tenant. So you can get sued for that. So that's another thing that I'm worried about is, I don't like that. I mean, the lease says that it's due on the 1st. So it's just kind of like a nightmare. Like that.
It's in September.
Hers ends in December, December 31st. So, but yeah, I don't like doing any of the property management stuff, but I mean, that's what we're doing right now. So I'll be happy. Oh, and that's the other thing we're doing right now is we're interviewing property management firms for the short term, because like short term property management is way different than long term. And I just haven't had great experiences with a lot of property managements. So we're actually looking on an online route. So we've interviewed Evolve and Vacasa. Those are the 2 that we're interviewing right now. I had like a 30-minute conversation with one and an hour-long conversation with another one, and then with the Vacasa, and then we're doing a follow-up meeting with them. The Evolve, both of them are basically, they're online, but they have like places all over. But the Evolve, they charge 10%, but they basically only do the marketing. Advertising. So they're on Airbnb, VRBO, all those like platforms. They have third-party partners that they work with in North Myrtle. I asked them how many vendors. They said about 11 different vendors they work with. So, but I would actually be contacting them.
Be handling, reaching out to all the HVAC contractors, etc.
So that would be the third party. So that would be me. Like I would reach out to them. I'd get like a company that's going to take care of all the maintenance. So it's basically like I have 2 property managers, like the one that takes care of all the maintenance, the cleaning and stuff like that. And then they work with
That's probably better because they're specializing.
Kind of, yeah. So I like that. Like it sounds good. But 10% just seems like a lot just for marketing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I know they have, software that gives them algorithms to where they can, check all the properties in the area and stay competitive, and that should, give you the best bang for your buck and keep your stuff rented out. So I like that better than just a local property management that just doesn't really care that much.
Sign like employment agreements with property management companies?
I think these online ones, they're not super long. You know what I mean? It's not like you're signing a year-long contract.
But the current one, are you stuck with it for a while?
No, like we told them we weren't going to use them. I mean, they're obviously terrible because one, they're ignoring the contract. When we were buying the home, I called them and left a message for them to call me back. They never called us back. The AC that went out was due to maintenance issues on the filters not being cleaned. So, I mean, a lot of these property managements are just terrible. Like, there's really good ones. Like, so my Colorado properties, that is really good property management. You know, they go out there, they fix stuff, they tell me things that need to be fixed. They're great. Like, I haven't been out into Colorado to look at those properties since like 2014. So I think my stepdad's gone out there and he's looked at and helped me out with some stuff, but like literally haven't been out there since then, and they're fine. They're just on, which I mean, I put a ton of money into those before, but even just doing stuff all the way out in North Carolina, working on them. Like, I think I replaced the roof on one, redid all the floors last year in one of them. So, I mean, I'm still doing work way out here, and I'll just have, you know, my property manager or someone go in there and like take pictures and stuff. But the other one that we looked at, the other property management was Vacasa, and they're more like all in one, like all inclusive. The rate, I guess they have different rates all over the place. They're asking for 20%. I think I like them more. They do all the same thing, you know, with the advertising and the marketing and stuff, but they also have like people on ground. And they do work with like a third party cleaner. But as far as like the property management, like they're taking after hour phone calls. I like them. They quote us 20%. I'm hoping to negotiate it down to 15%. Hopefully.
When you were running your numbers, what percentage did you use for the property management?
I did overall expenses, and our property is pretty updated, and our number is going to be really high. But I did it at 25% expense. So overall, so I mean, yeah. So the 20% that they're giving us is fine. That's still.
I always thought like typical PM fee was 12%. Why is 20?
That's long term. Well, no, I mean, actually,
Yeah.
long term's like 8%. Really, I get like 8% on all mine. If you have more than one, if you only have one property, it's like 10%. Maybe some of the higher end ones might charge you 12, but you should be able to negotiate that down to 10. And then if you have like 2 or 3 or more, you should be able to get like 8, 7% from property managers. Especially if you have a nice property, because they're going to get good tenants in there and their job's gonna be super easy. They shouldn't,
Yeah.
you know, do a whole lot if you have a nice property.
One thing I wanted to actually, you remember, you just sent me and Mike that video where Airbnb is changing their platform?
Yeah.
And how is that going to affect you guys?
We'll see. That's why I think it's even more important to have a good property management, or like, I think the people that are successful on Airbnb are the ones that manage it themselves, you know what I mean? And that are smart. Like, you have to have professional photos. You have to have a nice property. You have to have nice furniture. You have to be very responsive. So, I mean, like, managing your property is huge. Like, if you're not having like a 4.8 or higher rating, like, Airbnb's not gonna, like, on their algorithm, they're just not gonna show you to people, basically. Same thing with like aesthetic pictures. That's what that video was talking about. Like, it's just the competition. That's what I'm saying. Like, you really have to partner. You either have to do it yourself and be really good at it, or you have to partner with someone that's really good. So that's why we're interviewing these companies, and I'm just not like a fan of these local companies, because one, they're mostly just doing, there's just not enough incentive for them to be good at what they do. But these online companies, I feel like they're better because since they're able to be bigger, they can have like more money into software and stuff, and they heavily rely on, you know, people being happy with them. You know what I mean? These local people are always going to have, you know, customers, like clientele, but they're going to be like more mom and pop. So I feel like too, if even if we're paying a little bit more going with like an online agency, but if they can give us like 10% better return, then it's definitely worth it. Because I mean, the numbers for Airbnb are just so big. Like, we're looking at our gross income at, I don't know, probably like 150 or higher for our property. So, I
Here's
mean,
the main questions I had for you. So, you know how when you a residential property, the value is based on the surrounding comps, right?
yeah,
Okay. But with commercial, the value isn't based on comps. It's based on the net income, the operating income of the asset, right?
uh,
So for
cap.
right. So let's look at your triplex. It's technically a residential property, but does Airbnb change the classification to where the comp is based on the income it's bringing in, or is it still based on the comps?
With these DSCR loans, debt service cover ratio, yeah, with the debt service cover ratio loans that these residential brokers are doing now, and not every broker does them, but they'll some of them will include the numbers for short term, which are going to be a lot higher to cover your loan. So that's how a lot of these people are buying these like $1 million properties and stuff. Because traditionally
Do you know what ratio they used on y'all's when you were going through it?
I don't think we got a DSCR loan. I think they're looking at it. I don't know. Well, so we have long-term renters in ours. So I don't know if they calculated it as a long-term rental or short-term. So I don't know how. I don't think they. So you can count long-term rent too, and just a regular loan. They'll do that as well.
But that could be 2 years, right?
So I have that. Yeah, you have to have like previous experience. Yeah.
I'm talking about that particular asset. You have to show 2 years of.
No, every bank's gonna be a little bit different with the requirements, but no. So since I've been doing this for like multiple years, they'll they'll look, but they only take like 75%. So say like you're renting it out for 1,000, they'll only say that like, oh well, we'll cover 750 something, and look at your debt to income ratio based off of that number. But yeah, if you haven't had like a rental properties for at least 2 years, then yeah, that's the requirement. So you need like 2 years of experience. Commercial loans are really really picky about that too. Like it's really, really, really hard to get into commercial loans, like 20 units and up, like your $1 million up apartments until you've done your first one. Once you've done your first one, then I heard that bankers just come knocking on your door.
I had that here, that exact point.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. I was talking to Mike. He said y'all been pretty busy with the triplex. That's just because you're managing it all yourself right now.
Yeah. Well, I think people don't really realize, because I told Mike from the beginning, I was like, I don't want to do property management. I was like, if we can do it, but I mean, it's like you need to deal with the tenants. I'll do with maintenance people or anything like that. But I do not want to talk to tenants. I don't want to be taking those phone calls. I don't want to do that personal side of it. It's not my personality. I don't like doing it. But I mean, real estate's not like just a passive asset. Like you still have to do work, and especially like your startup. When you're first starting something and you're trying to build a system, it's going to take time, like a lot of work and effort. So,
did y'all send any like a letter or notice to the tenants? Okay, it's under a new ownership.
Oh, a bunch, yeah.
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 And are you going to do any recourse for that tenant that's paying late, or are you just going to let her pay the 17th until December?
I don't know. We haven't really figured it out yet. So like for now, like tomorrow is the 17th. She hasn't signed up. We've sent her probably like 30 emails so we're using Avail right now to collect rent and do all of our property management stuff. It's just this free website. It's pretty good. And it just lets you do that. So you just
Avail?
Avail, yeah, avail.com. So it's free. It works really good. We're able to get all of our tenants on there. They pay through them. There's a lot of benefits to that as well, like legally. But anyways, I've sent her so many invites. Mike's called her, text her, all this stuff. So who knows? But they get a 5-day grace period too after rent is due. So technically, I guess she has till like the 23rd. But it's just messed up because on the lease it says she's supposed to pay the 1st. So it's just a bad situation. You know what I mean? It's not ideal. And then the thing too is like we can't just set her up to the 1st because then she's gonna have to come up with whatever the 17th to the 31st is, that extra payment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just like you're asking someone to pay extra money, and they're not gonna want to do that. So, I mean, it's a bad situation. It's not good. And that's just what I'm saying. Like that property management that let her do that, those guys are idiots. Like they're dumb. Like, I don't know how you can run a business like that. Like not following a lease agreement, like that makes you so liable for so many different things.
Do they know
Like,
this person?
huh?
Is there some relation?
I doubt it. They're just, I'm telling you, just property managers are just stupid. Like most of them are just really, really dumb. Like they're not good at their, I'd say most people in real estate are dumb. Like most mortgage brokers you talk to, because like, especially from 2013 till now, there's been so much money flooding in that like anybody, like everybody's just making so much money in real estate.
I
Like,
just read an article in Bigger Pockets about that. It was the main argument of the article was saying how everyone in real estate claims to be an expert, but they're really not, and it's hurting the industry. It's a pretty good read.
yeah, I mean, if you can make money, might as well make money. So they're
Yeah.
smart enough to make money. So, I mean, they're making way more money than I'm making. I feel stupid. I tell myself every day I wake up, I'm like, man, you're really dumb because all these other people are making millions of dollars and, you know, you're spending all of this time doing all this stuff. And, you know, these people within a
Yeah,
year,
it's like you're
millions.
saying you're at that point where you're about to hit that cliff and gain some momentum.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm hoping. I'm hoping it's like a snowball effect once you kind of get them going. I'm thinking we'll see. I think by the end of next year, I'm trying to wrap up all my stuff this year. That's the plan, is to get everything, you know, finished this year, and then next year really see how everything works out. Especially that Airbnb. I think just looking at the numbers, just that one property alone is going to bring in more money than my entire portfolio. So combined, like from if the numbers are right. So, but it's hard to say if we, you know, we've never done it before. We don't know what the occupancy is going to be. We don't really know anything really. Like we have ideas and guesses from like what we've just, you know, looked on Airbnb and just our research, but really have no idea.
When's the peak season in Myrtle for short-term rentals? Obviously the summer.
They said you think it would be March, but it's still a little cold there in March. But I mean, people go there in March. But as I heard, April to October is the peak season. So it's a pretty big peak season.
Yeah.
And then you get your snowbirds and stuff too that go in, you know, January, February, December. So
Do you read anything about Myrtle, downtown Myrtle? Like, is there any new development or anything like that, or it's just the beach?
I don't know. I haven't really done that much research on that. So I know the Chamber of Commerce does a really good job with putting on events. Like, you know, they always have like, you know, the high school cheerleading competitions there. They have the biker weeks. They've got all this stuff going on there. And it's just like a famous place. Like people just go there regardless. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and it's cheaper than a lot of other places too.
Are
So.
you going to continue to focus on that market?
For now, I like that St. Pete area too. Like, and prices have gone up a lot there too. That one property that you sent me that you said would have been good. So I save properties that I like on Zillow, and so I get updates when they sell and different things like that. Someone bought that place because I think it was originally listed for like 500 or something, right?
500, yeah.
Somebody bought it, a wholesaler bought it for 423, put it back on the market the day it sold, put it on the market for 500, and then it just sold again. So he made, I mean, I don't know, he probably has his own, he or she probably, they have their own real estate license, I would guess, to get rid of those fees. I'm surprised that they did like a double closing because I mean, you still have to pay those closing costs, but I mean, obviously it was worth it for them. So they probably paid, you know, I don't know.
When I sent you that link, a wholesaler bought it, was listed for 500.
Yeah, the guy that bought it, he bought it for 423. I saw it. I looked at it. I looked at the sales history. He bought it for 423. Like this literally happened like yesterday. I mean, if you have it saved, you can pull it up and look at it. It literally happened like this week, sometime this week. But yeah, literally it said that it sold for like 420 or something. And then literally the next day I saw it again and it said sold for 499. He put it back on the market and it says like pending or something. So, so yeah, he was definitely a wholesaler. They accepted his contract, and you know he contacted someone else that was willing to buy it for 500. So it made, you know, probably you mean at least 50,000. You know, 'cause you got to pay some closing costs and stuff. But I mean, so I don't know.
That's a perfect Airbnb property.
It's pretty nice. That was a nice property. So,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. Like that's in St. Pete, but still, even 500,000 is like not a lot for that property.
I
So
looked it up. Every single property within 5 miles of that one on Airbnb, there wasn't any less than 300 a night.
yeah, yeah, that's nice. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what's kind of nice about Myrtle too, though, is like prices. I mean, they're more expensive than that, but I mean, they're closer to the beach. That one's still like a mile from the beach. Like the ones in Myrtle, you're getting like a $650,000 home, like a block, 2 blocks from the ocean. And I mean, they're still not renting out for like a ton. Like it's still pretty cheap to go on vacation in Myrtle. You know, a lot of those are, I mean, some of them, it just depends. Like you can rent out for like 500 or $1,000 a night or more. But a lot of those, a lot of times, I mean, you can get good deals in Myrtle Beach, go get like a nice home, like, you know, pretty close to the beach for like, you know, a couple $100 a night, like $300 a night.
Yeah.
So, but that's not going to stay that way forever. Like as more people are moving to the southeast, you know, these prices are just going to keep going up, especially with inflation. Like I'm thinking, you know, um, if home prices, you know, kind of stagnate right now, just because interest rates are high, they're going to have to lower interest rates here once they get inflation under control to boost the economy because the economy is just going to stale out. That's how it's quantitative easing. That's what they've been doing to get out of
We talk about
recessions.
that all the time.
Yeah. So, I mean, they'll have to do that. So even if, you know, housing prices stagnate, like they're going to shoot way up after they lower interest rates. So, I mean, you'll see again, like 13% or higher appreciation rates in real estate. So, I mean, because it's got to catch up because like real estate's always going to keep up with inflation. Like you think that, you know, the price of milk and eggs and gas will go up, but home prices won't. No. And there's like still a huge supply shortage and they're not building homes now too. So, I mean, just because, you know, home prices might not go up, but I honestly see home prices making another bull run in like this time next year. So, but if you look at like 2008 to it was 2008 to 2012. I actually read an article and I was looking at the graphs of like it showed like the different points in time of inflation, like appreciation in home prices.
Mhm.
2013 is really when housing like took off and it was like 13% in appreciation. It was really nothing from like 2008 to 2012. There was like a period of negative for like one of the first times ever of home values. But what happened is it was just stagnant. And then instead of, you know, the typical, you know, like home prices usually do like 3 to 4% of inflation a year, like appreciation to keep up with inflation because the Fed wants about like 4% inflation.
Yeah.
So, but like you saw basically nothing, but then all of a sudden in 2013, instead of seeing like, you know, 3-4% just growing like year over year at, you know, 3-4%, it was like 13%. And then it dropped down to like, you know, like 5 or 8 or something, but it kept going up. It was still really high. It was still way higher than 4. And then it kind of, you know, chilled out for a little bit. And then in 2020 and 2021, it was at like 18%, 15%. So just something insane. So even if it drops down to even negative or it's just flat for maybe a couple years and, you know, until all this blows away, you're going to see another 13% of inflation again, or appreciation in home prices, guaranteed,
Yeah.
guaranteed, or more. It's going to
What are
be,
your thoughts like in these markets where all these people are moving? Like obviously Tampa area. What are your thoughts on storage units?
yeah, storage units are great. I mean, everybody wants to get into storage units. So it's just they're expensive to build. Um, but I mean, I don't know a lot about storage units,
Because I'll
but
look at some and like the cap rates on them are stupid low. Like they're
yeah.
so expensive.
Yeah, because they're supposedly easier to maintain, but you have to have someone living on site, but your expenses are going to be way lower
Really?
than, you know,
What?
like, yeah. Huh?
Why did they live on
Because
site? They're not 24/7.
people live there. People, I mean, yeah, they'll live there and manage them, but I mean, still like a 9 to 5 job, or it's like a 7 to 5 job. Usually someone's there. Any storage unit you go to, there's usually someone there working. So you do have to pay someone, but your maintenance, the reason your cap rate's so low is because your expenses are so much lower than a multifamily. You know what I mean? You have to constantly go in there and replace carpet and drywall and update, you know, cabinets and stuff. So like in a storage unit, you have to pay like, you know, maintenance groundskeeper and stuff. But that's why. That's what I'm saying. Like like everybody wants to get into storage units. So like your margins aren't as high if you're buying something existing. So what people have been doing with storage units, they've gotten really creative, is all these malls are going out of business. So they'll buy up these little tiny like shopping centers, like these little strip malls, and they'll put storage like heated, or weather controlled
Yeah.
storage units, and they'll also do laundromats. So,
What have you ever read anything on triple net leases?
what's that?
Triple net leases. Have you read anything on those?
No, I've never heard of that.
So it's like where you get an anchor tenant. So you buy a commercial property and you get an anchor tenant, but with the triple net lease, they handle all of their own maintenance. So it'd be like if you bought a building and Walmart bought it. Walmart's obviously wants to keep up the upkeep of their property, look presentable. So they're responsible for all the maintenance, all the upkeep, everything. I have a note here on commercial leases being set up that way. A lot of my notes for this call were set up on commercial versus residential pros and cons. Because based on our last call, I feel like I'm leaning more towards commercial.
Yeah, commercial is great.
Yeah. And just for a few reasons, like I already said, like I feel like you have more control over commercial because with residential, your value is based on the cost. But if you buy a commercial property and you increase the operating income, you've instantly increased the value of the property. So I like that you have more control. I also like too that there's for commercial, generally they're long release terms.
Yeah. Yeah, like 5-10 years.
Yeah.
No, yeah, commercial is great. I think the main reason people don't get into commercial until like later in their like investing career is because it's expensive to get in. Most people that go into commercial have like business partners or they're like syndicators where they're basically raising money, and it'll be like maybe a group of investors that's buying, because that's what I'm saying, like that's why that SBA loan's really nice, because I think you can get in for like 10% or something. I don't know. I kind of stopped looking into SBA loans when I realized it wasn't for me. Like I couldn't do it. But like most traditional commercial loans are going to want you to put like 25% down, and they're all like $1 million, places. Like I was looking at, what is that called? Kava. Have you heard of Kava?
Yeah.
Yeah. They have a place in Wilmington and they're selling it. So like Kava is still going to be there. It's whoever owns the building. They're selling the building and it's already got like a 5 or 10 year lease on it with Kava. And it's in Wilmington and it's like 1.1 million that they want for it. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. But I also don't have, 250,000 plus to put down to buy, $1 million property. But it'd be awesome to own the building that Kava's in, because I mean, I don't think, Kava's going to go out of business, especially in Wilmington, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they have pretty good food. Everybody loves that place.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that'd be awesome to buy that. And I think the location was good. I didn't really look into it because I was like, well, I don't have $250,000. So, I mean, there's really no point. It's like looking at, jets or yachts.
Raise that?
What's that?
Do you think you could raise that?
Raise what? Oh, yeah, I mean, that's why what we were just saying, like these people that, I mean, make a lot of money in real estate, it's a lot more time and risk. I mean, they just go gung ho for it, and that's awesome. I'm just kind of taking a different route. So I've been thinking about that actually a lot recently, about kind of like reverse engineering, be like, okay, like I want to make $10 million in real estate. Like, how am I going to do that? And then work backwards from there. And like, well, what's the best way to do that? Like, oh, commercial real estate is going to make you the most money, right? So then it's like, okay, well, what type of commercial real estate do I want to do to make that? And since like either, like apartment buildings or, like what we just talked about that. And then you'd be like, okay, well, how do I get an apartment building? Like, how much money do I need for this? And then you'd be like, okay, well, I need, like 250,000, like we just said. And like, okay, well, how do I raise 250,000? And then, then you kind of get to that point, and then you just keep working down. You know what I mean?
I've done that. Like I've said, okay, I want to make 10,000 net a month. Okay, how do I get to that? I need, let's say I average $200 a door, then I need X amount of doors. Same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's good to especially have really high goals too, and then just keep on writing them down and
Yeah.
just kind of going over and just kind of like visualizing like how you're going to get there. But I think that is the best thing to do. I need to keep spending more time and just really kind of, writing those down and working backwards and then taking action on that. So that's kind of what I'm also trying to do right now as well. So,
Yeah,
but
it's like I want to be rich isn't a goal. It's I want to make 10 million in 5 years. Okay, how do I get to that point?
yeah, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
reading. Did you ever read The One Thing? It's like by Jay
Yeah,
something
he's a real estate agent.
and Gary
Yeah.
Keller. Yeah. Did you like it?
It was all right. I mean, I
Yeah.
read it a while ago.
I'm
Whatever.
listening to it on Audible. And actually, one thing I'm doing on Audible right now, like I haven't done before, I'm listening it on like 1.3 speed, and it's just a lot easier to listen to because the narrator, like he's good at narrating, but he's kind of slow, because he's like doing it, good. So I
Yeah.
listen on like 1.3 speed, and it's just like I'm getting the information a lot faster. So I actually have to like concentrate more too. I don't zone out because I'm like really focusing. But like a lot of things I don't like about, I like podcasts a lot more than books because books just have like so much fluff in them. Like a lot of them do.
Yeah.
And like a lot in that book, like The One Thing is like a lot of it's like these just like cliches and like weird things. And a lot of things like I don't agree with too. Like talking about like don't be disciplined, but then it's like contradictory. He's like, you have to have discipline, but don't be disciplined or something. And it's like, don't burn
Yeah.
yourself out, but you got to work harder.
One time read, but I mean, it was all right.
Yeah, I'm getting to like the very end, and there was some good stuff in the end. But that was one thing that was good that I got out of it too. Was he was I'll have to go back and kind of look at the chapter what it's called, but something about like focus areas and like talking about like goals and stuff. But basically, kind of the same thing of like how do you write your goal to where it's like actually achievable and having like really big goals and kind
Doesn't
of
this have focus as an acronym where it stands for um, follow one course until successful? I think it's in that book.
really, yeah. So that's like the one thing that I'm getting out that I like about that book, and it's basically towards the end of the book, but they're
It's the
talking
Keller
more.
Williams, the real
What's that?
estate company. Keller Williams, that's
Oh,
him.
oh yeah, yeah. No, I know. I like Gary Keller. I listen to some of this stuff on YouTube, but I don't know. I don't really listen to a lot of this stuff. I feel like he's just kind of he has a lot of clickbaity stuff, you know what I mean? And a lot of his stuff I don't really necessarily like, agree with. So I don't know. I guess I don't watch a lot of his content, but I mean I respect the guy, obviously. I think he's a good guy. He partners with the Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think he did a lot of business with the Kiyosaki back
Oh,
in
yeah.
like, around 2008 and stuff too. But no, I think I read another book by Gary Keller. I can't remember what it was, but it was basically going over like all the stuff that he was able to accomplish. It's really impressive.
Did
Like,
he write the E-Myth? Was that him?
no, that's someone else. That's a great book though.
That's a good book, yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was definitely I'd say top five like mind changers for me as far as books go and like my attitude and it's kind of weird how it was written, but like very very good. I like stuff that like you can kind of like when they give an example. So same thing with the one thing. Like a lot of it's just like these like weird cliches or like contradicting things until the very like where I'm at now. Now they're like they'll say something and then they'll give like an example. Like that's how my brain works. Like I need like a real life example of something. Like after you say something, like I need to see like an example of something and then I can apply it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, like, I think like Tony Robbins and like Tim Ferriss, they're really good. Like, I want to read Tony Robbins' new book about it's like biohacking and stuff. But I mean, those guys are very good. It's like when you're reading one of their books, it's like an encyclopedia. It's just like it's just so much information. It's insane.
Yeah.
So, but I think a lot of books are just more motivational. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad, he doesn't really tell you how to do anything. I guess maybe some of his other books, but I mean, a lot of that stuff's like
Quadrant is like, I
the
mean,
what?
it's simple. His like the quadrant, how he explains it, it's simple, but I mean,
Yeah, I think it's if you don't know anything about like investing and stuff, like you're brand new, his books are great. But like
yeah,
once you kind of get to a point, that's like I kind of stopped reading like a lot of those real estate books because I found, Bigger Pockets podcast and their podcast is just amazing. Like I've learned so much through through them and their resources and their website and their blog and everything. It's just the amount of content, and there's no fluff to it. You're getting like an hour. Like I've watched like hundreds of episodes where my mind's just been blown. And then I'll read a book where I'm like, it's just so much fluff, and it's just like they don't tell you how to do anything. Like a lot of them are just like more motivational than anything, or it's like, all right, get to the point, and there's like literally no point. There's no real life examples. They don't talk about like the negative things that you have to look for. But like in a podcast, it's like you're getting all of the information of like what should you look for, the do's and the don'ts, like real life things that are actually going on, which is nice.
Useful.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, dude, I gotta wrap up. Do you have any last comments?
Yeah, all I was gonna say is like kind of what's your time frame? Like, what are you looking for? Like, you have like goals and stuff that you have set to.
Yeah, so a big piece of the puzzle is my annual bonus later this year. Those usually get dispersed in October. I'll know in August what it'll be, the amount. And then from there, I'll have a better concrete idea of how much capital I have to play with. And then once it gets dispersed in October, I want to try to close on something before the end of the year. So I'm thinking November, December.
It's a great time to buy.
Yeah.
Like somewhere like between November to February. Like I feel like December.
I'm thinking just starting small, where just buy at least one property a year. And
well, just the experience you get. Like, I mean, I've already done a handful of these, and I'm still learning so much from just this Myrtle one. I mean, this Myrtle one is a little bit different because we inherited tenants, and we're doing the PM, and then we're going to do short term, which is all brand new. But you just learn something new every single time. So
yeah, for sure.
I think it's smart doing it smaller, at least like one or two deals before you jump into something. Because I can't imagine buying like a 20-unit apartment and then like say the AC goes out on like half of them or something, and like where are you going to come up with that money to fix those?
I'm thinking for this next one, I want to be around $500,000.
I think that's great. I've shifted my focus too. Like I'm thinking, because I didn't have any money for like the longest time, like right out of college and stuff. So I was really attracted to these like, fixer uppers and stuff. I think I'm really, and like I'm still looking into them. Like I'll see something. I'm seeing good deals right now here in Raleigh. Like I'm seeing some good stuff. Like it's a good time to buy right now if you can get in. But like I'm still like seeing these. I'm like, oh, this is a fixer upper, and I can make like 50,000-70,000 on this, but it's gonna take like a year and a half and a giant headache and a ton of time. And then I'm like, no, you just need to like change your mindset to where like buy nicer properties that you don't have to put any like time or effort into, and they're gonna appreciate like 300,000. You know what I mean? And there's ways to do it, with still not putting that much money into it. Honestly, like these dumpy homes, you still have to put in like, $50,000-$70,000 into them. You know what I mean? So you have to put a lot of money into them. So it's like, I think I'm just changing my mindset. I feel like that's what I'm working on, just trying to buy nicer stuff.
No, I'm in the same headspace because just this current property, I was all gung ho, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do all this work myself, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, man, I just want to hire somebody.
Yeah, no, well, and that's what's so good about like that E-Myth book, because it talks about like the entrepreneur, the manager, and the operator, right? So it's like, what one do you want to be? Like, you need to just calculate it into your numbers to where, like, if you want to scale it, like if you want to be big, you want to make $10 million a year, you can't be doing the operator stuff, right?
Right.
And then like, when you're smaller, you can do the entrepreneur and the manager. But like, you eventually, when you get big, like you're making $10 million or something, you hire managers. But I mean, even, I guess PM is like a manager. So like really, like you as the entrepreneur, you need to have the big picture. You need to just calculate PM and operating and expenses into your numbers. You know what I mean? But it is good on your first one. Like my first one, same deal. Like me and my stepdad, like mainly my stepdad, I did all just the grunt, no skilled labor, and he did all the skilled stuff. But we put a ton of sweat equity into that first home, and it was a great learning experience, because now when I'm talking to contractors, I still don't know like anything, but like, I have an idea, when something, and like I have an idea of like when something breaks, like when we looked at that Myrtle home, there was a plumbing issue, and I just knew right away. Like I saw the toilet flush and it bubbled, and I was like, oh, I've replaced sewer lines before. It could be roots. It could be.
Well, you called that with this one when I told
Yeah.
you, like, dude, it sounds like roots, and that's what it was.
Yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. Like I've done everything you can do on a home, like electric, plumbing, sewer lines, roof, gutted, remodels, kitchen. Like so, it's great experience because you can identify issues. Like all my homes have been like 100 years old too. So like I can go in and look at an electrical box and know like there's going to be electric problems or something. You know what I mean? Or this needs to be upgraded, or there's going to be issues in the future here.
Just that experience.
Yeah, but if you're buying, $600,000 homes that built in, like 1990 or 2000 or 2010, you're probably not going to have those issues, which is nice. You know what I mean? So buying nicer stuff is also a good thing. But it's good to know stuff. I think it's good to be, get your hands dirty and be kind of blue collar, and then, I think it's good for your character too, and just learning the business. So, but I don't know, man. That was a good talk. I'll let you go. I know you got to run. So.
Yeah, gotta run. But I'll hit you up, bud.
All right, cool. Thanks, yeah.
Bye.